Hi, it's ChickenboneJohn here. I'm going to talk about this little amplifier here. Recently got this. It's a Fender Super Champ X2. Very cool little amp. As you could hear, I was switching there between channels. It's got one basically straight valve channel, and then it's got modeling, and there's 16 different voices. There's other videos out there on YouTube if you want to check exactly what it will do. This is on the voice. When I was playing the overdriven sound, that's on the voice 12, which I think is British 70s or British 80s amp emulation, and it's just got a little bit of reverb on it. I'll just talk about the cool features of this thing, but for if you sort of want an amp that will do home practice and small gigs, this is great. At 15 watts, I wonder if this is a sort of bargain Princeton. I did wonder if I might have should have got a Fender Princeton instead of the Deluxe Reverb. The Deluxe Reverb I think is 22 watts. The Princeton is 12. This is 15. It's got a 10-inch speaker like the Princeton. Most of the Princetons have got 10. I think some of them will take a 12. This isn't all valve. And what I want to, I'll just talk a little bit about the ranges of this. If you know anything about Fender amps, or if you don't, they have an amp called the Champ. It was developed into the Vibro Champ. Basically, that's just a 6-watt amplifier. I think it had an 8-inch speaker, sometimes with a 10-inch. Claimed that it's got a fantastic sound, but it is only 5 watts. And then I think Paul Rivera, when he was working there, developed the Super Champ, which was an 18-watt version of that. Now this is a newer amp, discontinued, so don't look for a new one unless you can get new old stock. And I think this was a bit of a hidden gem. I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't looking for amps when this came out, but I think it's a bit of a hidden gem because it is a valve amp, valve hybrid, I suppose is what you call it, because it's got a valve section and then the modern modeling, and it's also got digital effects. It's got reverb, but it's not a spring reverb. So I think all that keeps the cost down. Now, when these were new, they're in the £300 or so. They seem to have kept their value pretty well. At the moment, looking on eBay, they're going between 150 and 250. I think about £200, and that's sort of late 2023 in the UK. They seem to be round about the £200 mark. This one's a little bit different because instead of the ordinary black finish, it's got this very groovy cream finish with an oxblood fret cloth. They did them in various colours. I think they did them with a blue, I think Sonic blue with a black fret cloth. They did it like seafoam green with a wheat fret cloth, a burgundy, I think, with a wheat, also in tweed, and there was a very nice fawn, flecked fawn. And the other important thing about the special edition, it's called the FSR. I think it's either factory or Fender Special Run. It's a little badge on the back, I'll show you in a minute. It's got an upgraded speaker. It's got an Eminence Raging Cajun speaker rather than the Fender Special Design or what they call it. So yeah, I'll just put that down. A couple of other things. That's the foot switch that it comes with. So you can switch your effects on and off. I just had the reverb running, but you've got quite a range. You've got reverb, tremolo, sort of slapback echo and stuff like that. But I always like a little bit of reverb. I do like trem, so I would maybe put a trem pedal in front of this occasionally, but that's all I'd need. So you've got that, and then you've also got the the channel switching, and you get a little light comes on here, I think somewhere when you've selected your channel with that. But that's very handy. So that I think is an extra. So if you were buying one of these, obviously the cost will be reflected. You know, you're probably talking 25 to 40 quid for the pedal. And you know, I also got this with a slip cover, which is handy. So those little bits and pieces I think would add to the cost. So one like this, the FSR, the special edition, I think you're probably going up towards the 300 or 300 plus mark. This one had got corners added to it, and the logo had been changed for the 3D logo rather than the flat Fender logo, which is a bit nicer. So yeah, I thought I'd pay top dollar for this, but it's brand new. I'll talk about the features on this. So you can see you've got a single input. So you've got the volume 1 is basically your clean Fender channel, and then the gain, and the volume 2 is your modeling channel, and that's the selector for that. So it models a range of different amps with various degrees of overdrive and different tonal qualities. The treble and bass, that works across the amp generally, and then you've got the FX adjust, how much of that you got in, and then you've got the channel, so the effect selector. So you've got vibratone, delay, reverb. I think you can have reverb and delay, chorus plus delay, chorus plus reverb, and tremolo. You can't sort of mix that. That's what you get. And as I say, the tap, you can use that on some of the effects to actually give you the various pulsing things. If we take a look at the back of the amplifier, it's got a conventional lead socket, your power on, fuse, speaker out, so you can actually put this to a bigger cab. You could put it to a 12-inch speaker if you wanted. It's got a line out, and there's your foot switch controller. There's your different, that's the Raging Cajun, which apparently is supposed to be better than the standard speaker. And that's your Fender special edition badge telling you what it is. It's a great amp for if you're starting gigging, or I've been gigging quite a while. I'm going to be using this for gigs. It's great at home because you've got the switchable channels, you know, which you can switch with the foot switch. You can switch, you know, your channel select and your effects from this. This is a bit of voodoo in this, because I don't know how they do this. It's just a regular jack, mono jack, just goes in the back, and they managed to control 2 channels and the little lights. How that's done, it's some sort of weird voodoo, I think. Value wise or price wise, you'll see these on eBay. People might be asking between 150 and 250 for the standard black Tolex one of these. This one's got the special speaker and the nicer appearance. So, you know, that I think is going to add at least 50 quid to the price. So you can see these, I think. I don't think you'll get the special ones for less than 250, maybe up to 350, which is, I think, about how much they cost new. Especially if it comes with a foot switch and, you know, a slip cover. That's got, you know, these are going to be 25, 40 quid depending where you get them. So, as I say, the ordinary ones of these going to be, I'd think, about 200 to 250 for a nice one. This is going to be at least 50 to £100 premium, depending on how desperately you want one of these. Just to make sure you don't get confused, the previous one to this was the XD. Virtually identical, except I think that it might have got one more voicing, I can't remember. And it hasn't got the tap tempo that you can put on some of these modulations. This has got a USB input, so in theory you could download to alter all the voicings. That software has been discontinued by Fender. Doesn't interest me at all. I think you can probably still get it if you wanted to tinker with it, but it doesn't really bother me. So the XD is in most all of the respects the same as this, except it hasn't got that USB connectivity, hasn't got the tap tempo, but you can channel switch it using one of these. The other one you'll see, which looks very, very similar, but it's the Vibro Champ XD. Now that is only a 5 watt, so the 5 or 6 watt, but I think it's a 5 watt, more like the original Champ, and it hasn't got the channel switching options. It's got the voices and it's got the effects, but it hasn't got the channel switching, and remember, it's only 5 watts. The original Fender Champ was all valve, and then they had the Vibro Champ, which has got I think it's got got vibrato in it, the Vibro Champ. The latest ones have got a digital reverb rather than a spring reverb. That's a fairly expensive piece of kit for a 6 watt amp, about £900. I'm not into that sort of thing. People say, oh, it's a great recording amp and that, but that's not what I do in the main. I think my view is this is almost like a cut price Princeton. I know the Princeton's a different amp. It's all valve, no channel switching. It's got built-in vibrato, tremolo. I should be saying tremolo rather than vibrato, but that's what Fender called it. Built-in tremolo and a spring reverb. That's a 12 watt amp. This is 15 watts into a 10-inch speaker like the Princeton. So I know people say, oh, it's not a Princeton, it'll never be as good as a Princeton, but bear in mind, a Princeton, a used one, it's going to be between 750 if you're lucky and £1,000. If you wanted a new one, it's going to be about, I think about £1,300. Serious money. That's a lot more than I paid for my slightly used deluxe reverb, and that was a special run one with a lightweight speaker, lightweight cab. I basically got that for at least half of its new value, and it was a new amp. If you shop around, you can get some great buys. But as a way into a quality valve amp, yeah, it's not point to point, it's all on a printed circuit board. Valves are more fragile than solid state. I've been using solid state amps for years. I've been using the Sessionette and the Session Blues Baby. Been really happy. I felt my Blues Baby sounded better than the Sessionette, so that got pensioned off. But I came across a deluxe reverb, played it live at a gig and a show, and I was knocked out by the sound, really was. So I was keen to reinvest in the valve experience, bearing in mind I got rid of a Rivera era Fender 75. It wasn't a Rivera, I don't think it was a Rivera design, but it was around that period, late 70s, early 80s. 75 watts, 15-inch speaker. It was enormously heavy, I think heavier than a Twin Reverb, about 75 pounds. I just didn't use it because it was too heavy, too bulky, started getting a bit noisy. I got rid of it. So that's the only reason I have been using that valve amp. This is sort of the deluxe reverb sort of persuaded me back into valves. This, as I say, is a valve hybrid, so you got the best or worst of both worlds. But I think for the money, for a couple of £100, if you can get the you buy well, this is a cracking little amp. It's little, but it's pretty substantial. Weighs about 25 pounds, which is flyweight in terms of valve amps, really. But it is a pretty substantial little thing. Okay, Thanks for watching, and bye for now.